One thing that I loved about martial arts and still love about martial arts and sports is that you actually have someone to fight against, so to speak, right? You have someone to actually healthily compete against and with. And that's part of the fun of life sometimes is having people to intellectually spar with or to actually physically fight with or spar with or go to the mats with, box, whatever the case may be, right? And it's the same thing happens when it comes to ideas. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. There's nothing wrong with doing these things, but I swear some of the people that I've seen, it seems, and I hate to say this, but they give me the awful impression that they've had no one to fight with or spar with intellectually, spiritually, or physically. And I thank God for those that I do get to actually be around because we truly righteous men and women, it's like a whole different world. You can actually disagree and still respect each other. You can actually just see the other person's point of view without having to accept it. And you can still feel heard. You can still feel understood. You can do all these things. And one thing about martial arts that I learned was that through expressing yourself in a fight, it's going to be the same kind of way you express yourself in your ideas or however you move, whatever the case is going to be, right? So, for example, when it comes to sports, I usually like to have a lot more finesse with my footwork or with my way of moving on the court or when I'm sparring with someone. I like to have a little bit of a flow to it. I don't always go for the obvious hit, right? I don't really do that because it's not really my style. I like to get a feel for the thing, and I like to kind of have like a dance with them. I like to have that playfulness, but still be seriousness when it comes to either sparring or sports in general because I like that aspect, but I take it sincerely. I don't take it seriously. And I don't trust people that don't have the capacity to do that. And it seems like there's so many people that are just incapable of it. They're just incapable of doing that kind of thing. And there's too many women that think that they know how to lead and they just don't. Now, what does this have to do with, being, well, because if I'm in business, let's say, and there's the only thing that a woman has on me in competition is that she's a woman and that she gets certain perks because she's a woman, or maybe she uses her attractiveness as a way to gain sales and such, which it absolutely is a fair competitive advantage because I've never seen any woman more successful than the woman who is a salesperson who's attractive. Holy moly. There was a woman that I worked with a long time ago, and she was a salesperson. And she was reasonably attractive, okay? She had a family and all that, but man, oh man, she knew what she was doing, man. She knew exactly what she was doing. And she knew exactly how to work these men to just get the sales and move on. And she would flirt with them and make them feel all right, and then that would be it, right? That's the only competitive advantage women have. They only, like, for women, when it comes to power, right? They say everything's about sex when it comes to power, except, well, wait, how does the saying go again? Isn't it something like everything about power is actually about sex, and everything about sex is actually about power, something like that, right? And I think that that's true to a large degree because if you know how to influence people and you know how to conquer people's minds, because there's so many people losing their minds out here. There's so many people, it seems like everybody's losing their minds. And I really didn't know what I was going to talk about today. I just had this flow of consciousness. I didn't really have anything in mind particularly. I just wanted to talk about something because I had things on my mind. So we're just kind of going here, stream of consciousness. I have no clue what I'll title this. But it seems to me like everybody's losing their minds. And women who believe that they are in leadership positions, and meanwhile, like, have you ever been in like a workplace where the woman is leading and you all of a sudden, yesterday she said one thing and today she like forgets what she told you to do and you're supposed to do something different? That never really happens with men, in my experience. Like, in my experience, men never really did that. The men that I worked with, and it makes me, and it's kind of like, it agitates me. It honestly agitates me. It's because the only reason that I'm not in that position is because of who I am. It's not even what I am, it's who I am. And that's what really pisses me off. And I'm not a victim. Okay, I'm not saying that I'm a victim, but I've seen more white men in the workplace just completely derailed, more so than any other person. And people will say, "Oh yeah, well that's white privilege." No, it's not, man. No, it's not. There's no way. I've never seen white men get the better of it. And I'm not trying to bring race into it, but other people do. So I'm not trying to be divisive here or anything like that. It's just that is the case from what I've seen. And I've experienced that firsthand. Oh, well, we can't have a white man take that raise. It'll look bad on the diversity application and all that for our grant that we're going to get. Do you know how crazy this is? Like, the world is nuts. The world is freaking crazy. And the fact that we're allowing women to believe that they are in these leadership positions and they can't even pick a freaking direction, man. Like, they just do not. Because these women, they don't always mean to. Okay, they don't always mean to, but they will drag you into hell and leave you there, stranded, because they're trying to survive. But they're the ones that think that they know where they're going. Whether it's in a relationship or at the workshop or the workplace or whatever, you've got to be very careful. And I've had a few men reach out to me recently, one in particular. He asked me about my thoughts on Halloween and if a woman, like what would I say to a woman, or what should he say to a woman who is celebrating this holiday? And because Halloween's tomorrow, for those of you that are, aware of the worshiping of the satanic pagan holiday, I told them, I said, look, I mean, the only way that you're going to have to move forward is you're just going to have to lay down what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, because, I mean, who knows? Who knows what they've been taught? Who knows what they haven't been taught? And you're going to have to just lead by saying what you do want to do or what you don't want to do. And if she's on board, great. If she's not on board, great. I mean, this is just, men don't know how to lead. Men don't know how to live their life. And I get it, though. I understand to some degree, because every single step of the way, men are told that they need to castrate themselves. You live in a system where they're stealing your essence, they're stealing your energy, they're stealing your vitality, they're stealing your livelihood. They're literally robbing you with taxes and the system as a whole, with the fiat currencies and all these. Like, they're literally robbing you. And then they're commanding you, they're brainwashing you into being commanded to just accept it. And the more you resist, the more you get punished by the system. It's fucking nuts. It's so crazy. And sometimes I just can't help but think to myself, how did we get here, man? How did it get so bad? Because I'm a positive person. I love positivity, man, just as much as the next person. And I think it's very healthy for you to keep a godlike positive mindset, for sure. But when you look around at the actual community, because when I look outside, it's sunshine right now, and it's a beautiful day. There's a little snow on the mountaintops. There's a light, cool breeze. And it's a very peaceful day. Very nice autumn day with the leaves falling, right? Beautiful. But then I look at the people and they're freaking zombies, bro. They're zombies. It's the night of the living dead. It's the Walking Dead out here. They are literally the Walking Dead, spiritually speaking. And when you look into some of these women's eyes, oh my gosh, you just see no life, man. There's no light whatsoever. They've given all of themselves away to other people. And they're not even 24, 25 years old. It's so nuts. And it's sad. It's horrible to see. Because, of course, I don't want to see that happening to our women. And look, the women in your community, physically, that physical community, wherever they are, that's your women. Okay, so you got to take care of them to some degree. But it is so freaking difficult to maintain the patience sometimes, to hold on to the righteousness of your being. It's not like it, because of course you want to, look, life is about problem solving. This is a good problem to have, right? A good problem to have is, okay, how are we going to reorient the generation into a positive direction? That's a good problem to have. If that's your biggest problem, that's a good problem to have. A lot of people's biggest problem is how to quit the corn. Okay? How do I quit jerking off? How do I quit? It's like, dude. And then the people that think they know things with semen retention, for example, because I do talk about semen retention quite a bit on this channel, but the people that think they know things about semen retention, and then they say things, and it's like, you're idolizing this practice, and you don't even realize it. It's not that semen retention is going to give you everything that you ask for. Semen retention is not God. And God isn't going to give you, God himself isn't going to give you everything that you want all the time. But he will give you everything that you need. And that is not only a fact, that's something that you have to act out as if it were true and as if it is true. Because the perilousness that comes with the lack of faith is really something to behold in the people that around you. When you can see that people just lack faith, you can immediately understand why Jesus says so many times, "Oh ye of little faith." So freaking many times in the Bible. "Oh ye of little faith. Oh ye of little faith." Peter, Simon at the time, because Simon's name changed to Peter after Jesus renamed him, right? So, as the rock. So Simon Peter walks out onto the water, and Jesus says, "Keep your eyes on me, don't look at the storm," basically, right? And then what happens? Simon looks at the storm, he looks at the water, the waves coming in, whoa, and he falls into the water. Jesus lifts him up and he says, "Oh ye of little faith." That's us so many times. Okay, we're basically like that with God so often, so very often, and we don't even see it. And it's this godlessness, it's the God-shaped hole that has gotten us to the point in which we are today, where everything is chaos. And if you try to provide order and fertility, you access and harness that archetype of the king as a man. People don't know how to react to it, especially women. Women don't know how to respond to it. They just know that they feel something. And it's like, yeah, that's because it's actually life. It's because I'm actually living the truth. It's not because I'm just speaking about positive things here. And it's so bizarre when these people, whether it's a man or a woman, Because I've had men that are bosses, let's say, going back to the workplace for a second. I've had men that are bosses that are, or let's call them supervisors. I hate the term boss. Ugh. And you know what's interesting is the more I am doing my own thing and the more entrepreneurship like my spirit becomes, the less tolerance that I have for leaders that don't know how to lead. It's ridiculous. Because I know I am not the perfect leader by far. But I know that as a leader, it's my job to always be a student as well. It's my job to also recognize that while I'm a teacher, I'm also a student. But these people that think they know things and then they switch back and forth on what's going to be completed and what's not going to be completed. And you're just sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, do you know where you're going? Do you know where you're really wanting to go? Have you thought through any of this? How is it the case that the people that have thought through things, that are actually trying to better themselves, are punished by the system, but people that are just, oh, we'll pay for it on the credit card here. We're going to pay. We don't need investments. We need more things. We need to keep up with the Joneses. They might not be saying these things exactly, but that's what their actions are saying, right? Oh, I've got this credential and I've got that credential. But you don't live it, man. You don't live it. It's like going to the personal trainer. This is one thing that I loved about martial arts, by the way, is because my Shifu, my Kung Fu instructor, he freaking knew what he was doing, man. There was no way he didn't not know what he was doing. Because you could look at him, and in his form, his technique, you could see the years of practice and dedication. And he was ripped. The dude was a freaking tank, while simultaneously being so flexible that he could kick straight up into the sky with his feet, right? He could do a straight up kick. Like Bruce Lee edition, where he just poof. Whoa. Like that was the type of level this guy was on. So you knew he knew what I was talking about. But it's like going to a personal trainer that's fat. Why in the world would you do that? Why would you go to a personal trainer that's fat? So you've memorized all these things, but you haven't implemented them. That's why I wrote my book. Okay, the Book of Oldishness. That's why I wrote this. Because I knew that if I'm going to talk the talk, I need to walk the walk. And that's why I wrote this book. So that I could prove to myself that I could actually do something like this. I didn't think that I could do something like this years and years ago. It took me 5 years to write this book. But I knew that it was going to be a marathon. It was going to be something that if I start something, I'm going to finish it. And that's just who I am. And I think that that's what a lot of people are missing, especially in leadership. Now, I understand that sometimes you're going to have to pivot. Okay, I get it. Especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, there are times when you have to pivot like on a day-to-day basis. But your long-term goals still stay the same. It's just the details to get there kind of change. It's like going on an adventure, right? Remember in Lord of the Rings when Bilbo meets the trolls? He didn't expect to meet the trolls, right? But there was the obstacle. Okay, well, you've got to deal with the obstacle, right? That's in front of you. There's no other way to go about this. Sometimes obstacles just pop up, but the long-term goal and the adventure itself remain the same. That's how life is sometimes. Thank you for listening to this. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I still don't know what I'm going to call this, but we'll figure it out. I hope that you all have a blessed rest of your evening. And I hope everybody continues on the path, man. Continue on the path. And I'm not going to tell you to be humble because I think that that's... And I'm not going to tell you to be arrogant either, but have conviction in who you are. I believe in you. when you're doing the work, and if I can see you doing the work, even if maybe you're not where you want to be, just know that I believe in you. So with all that being said, peace. Until next time.